If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
Welcome to Sephora.
I'm looking for a perfume that's not too perfumey.
I got you.
Serum moisturizer or moisturizer serum.
Let's get into layering.
My concealer is making me look worse?
Sounds like the wrong shade. Let's get you matched.
There's only one store that really gets what you're going for. Get beauty from people who get beauty. Only at Sephora.
Hi,
Let's get you a basket.
Sunday morning. With us today is Congressman Barney Frank, and he is the famous congressman where originally all the banking bills were done with Dodd-Frank. And, Barney Frank, what have you been doing? I mean, you were in banking business, etc. I want to bring us up to date on one of your former companies that you were on the board with, Signature Bank. And have you learned anything new?
What am I doing? Was that the question?
Yes.
Well, Frank, I'm just finishing a book on what I think the Democrats need to do in the coming elections. Other than that, I'm kind of retired, and I don't mind being able to sleep as late as I want. I do actually a show that people might find surprising. Every Saturday morning, I'm on Newsmax for about 15 minutes debating some of the issues. I'm the left-wing opposition on Newsmax.
Understood. Well, Congressman Frank, you were on the board of Signature Bank, and Signature Bank was put out of business, and there was a lot of circumstances that came along with it. And it comes down to what happened in America during that period of time where I guess Congresswoman Pelosi had a major bankruptcy in San Francisco, but in order to get the depositors, I guess, paid, there had to be 3 banks in bankruptcy for that to happen. Can you explain that to our audience?
I've heard that argument, John. I haven't really yet been persuaded of it, but I'll tell you what seems to be clearer. The biggest difference on banking and finance policy between Donald Trump and his predecessors has to do with crypto. The Trump administration and the president personally have embraced crypto. The Biden administration was sort of anti-crypto, especially the head of the SEC. And one of the problems, ironically, that Signature had was we were being successful in dealing with crypto. We did not invest in cryptocurrency. We weren't lending cryptocurrency. But we set up one of the earliest places where 2 customers of ours who were doing other banking business in other currencies but wanted to deal with each other, we facilitated their dealing with each other in crypto. And it was a successful business. It didn't put us at risk. And I think the anti-crypto views of the Biden administration were a major factor there. I think people at the FDIC and especially did not want there to be an example of a successful utilization and monetization of crypto. Now, the policy argument says, well, they had to find a bank. I'm still uncertain about that, but I do know this. Once they decided they needed a bank, or even before that, we were closed because they could not tolerate an example of a successful monetization of crypto.
So you feel it was more of the crypto situation than anything else?
Yes, and I think that's been vindicated. And if you look at, John, as I know you do, that's the biggest change between the Biden and Trump administration, or the Trump and Obama administrations, about, and even the Trump administrations, it's this embrace of crypto, as opposed to the opposition of crypto that you saw under Biden.
Now, the last time we talked, you were also concerned, or you pointed out that New York State had given Signature Bank a clean card of approval the previous few weeks.
Not just New York State, all the bank regulators. They have a rating system, and we were just a couple of weeks before the closure. We were rated as very satisfactory, not perfect, but almost no bank is perfect. So as a director in particular, I'm somewhat surprised that these agencies, and they get together and they give you a rating. And our rating was very high. And so they tell us this is your rating at a board meeting, and then 2 weeks later decide to close us.
That was shocking. It was shocking. I was there at that time.
Absolutely.
And they also closed the bank in San Francisco, and they closed Signature Bank, and they also closed First Republic.
Yes.
What they do? What did they do wrong?
I will add this to my my point. If you look at what happened to the loan book of Signature after they closed us, and it was transferred to other institutions, it performed very well. One of the problems, again, was people at the FDIC and the former head particularly did not understand an important distinction between commercial and residential lending. Commercial lending, because of the pandemic, was troubled because people were closing down offices because you could work from home. But what they didn't apparently understand, although it seems to be pretty clear, well, you can work from home, you can't live at work. And so what was happening was loans to residential, multifamily, large buildings were doing well. They were not defaulting. Loans to commercial were. Signature Bank was the largest residential lender. And so when you look at our commercial portfolio, it was very big, and that was troubling him if you don't look behind the top line. And if you look and you see that our loan book was very much residential, much more than almost anybody else, and as a result, we did not have the failures and defaults that other banks had.
Understood. Anything else you want to tell? Get it off your chest right now, because it's a couple of years later now. It's 2-3 years later. Anything else?
I'm very proud, frankly. I think we had critics from both the right and the left, more from the right than the left, and I think we've been vindicated. I think two things. First of all, in the now 15 years since that became law, we have not had a major bank crisis, even though we went through some tough times. And on the other hand, the banking industry has thrived. There were people who said, we didn't do enough, there's going to be more crisis. There were people who said, you do too much, you're shutting down the financing of America. 15 years later, both of those are clearly not true. And by the way, one proof of that is, with the exception of the Consumer Protection Board, which the conservatives have always disliked, and I disagree with them, but the Republicans, during their tenure, have made no serious effort to undo the major parts of Dodd-Frank. It is essentially intact, and as I said, has worked very well. And it's, you hear still a lot of controversy about other things done by Obama and Biden, but you do not see much controversy about Dodd-Frank. The Congress did, under Biden, under Trump, adopt a modification that I thought was useful in some parts. I didn't agree with others, but that left the important parts, almost all the parts of Dodd-Frank in existence. So, I'd close with that. People who thought we didn't do enough and people who thought we did too much have both been proven wrong by the fact that I guess I'd put it this way, no news is good news in this area, and people haven't read much about the banking crisis threatening the economy since we did Dodd-Frank.
Well, Congressman Barney Frank, thank you for your service to our country and continue to speak out for our country. And you did a great job. Thank you so much. And let's catch up again real soon. Whenever you're in New York, we'll certainly buy you lunch or dinner.
Okay, I'll take dinner.
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy.
Download and subscribe
at BeBullish.com.